Ramen VR has released its first content patch for Zenith The Last City, and it features some major changes and additions. And now that I've had ample time to check it out, let's break down the good, the bad, the controversial, and the awesome. If you've enjoyed the Zenith coverage, consider subscribing for more news, updates, and guides in the future. Now let's begin. In their blog, they start off by calling this a minor update, and while technically not a huge content addition, I actually think it's a pretty significant one overall. For those such as myself that wish there was a little more to do within each area before having to move on, well, now there is. 23 new side quests are now available and are within each biome to help flesh out the activities in each area a little more. In addition to this, there are 4 new quest NPCs that can be spotted throughout the game and offer a variety of tasks to choose from. This is a welcome addition, including my favorite, which is the brand new dungeon. Once you get to Queen's Path, you can find a new NPC there, as well as the entrance to this dungeon, and let me just say, I really hope they continue to use some of the areas for dungeons like this, because what was once a pretty bland and avoidable section is now an awesome dungeon to run full of enemies, objectives, multiple bosses, and loot chests. And although pretty small, this is what dungeon hunting is all about. I look forward to seeing larger ones in the future. Now, for the most controversial part of the update, and that is, legendary armor has been removed, for now at least. Before the update, you could grind for materials through events and use these to buy the legendary gear, and sadly, those who are working toward obtaining all of this will no longer be able to. Many suspected this was due to players using exploits and duplicating them, but this wasn't the case. Last night, in a written letter from Ramen VR co-founder and game director Andy, he addressed the decision to remove the legendary gear, stating, quote, "With legendaries, the goal was to introduce a way to grind for epic gear that involves challenging team content and introduce new modifiers that are actually interesting. Current legendary armor does not have any interesting effects or modifiers or looks, so it doesn't live up to what we want legendary armor to feel like. Our goal is to reintroduce legendary armor at a later date with cool new effects, art, and modifiers, so that they feel truly powerful and one of a kind." Now, I'm going to be honest here, while I was just as shocked and confused as many of you out there yesterday, when I obtained the legendary gear, I did find it to be a bit underwhelming in design. If you're going to spend that much time grinding for that special gear, it should definitely look like some of the best in the game, as well as have some badass modifiers, so there's a lot of room for possibility here. He goes on to clarify that this decision wasn't due to any duping or cheating issues, and that while they believe this was a necessary decision to balance the game's infrastructure, that they made a mistake in not giving enough notice or just anything in return, and for that, apologize to those who never got to finish obtaining the gear, stating that they have learned a valuable lesson in respecting the grind, and will be more transparent in the future should something like this ever need to happen again, but they don't expect it to. I feel for both sides here. I don't think it was handled in the best way possible, especially for those who were working toward the gear without any knowledge of the change coming, but I also get the decision for the change, which I do think is ultimately better for the game in the long run. So now the best gear in the game requires 2 new materials, which brings us to our next parts of the update. The world boss Arboruht has been tweaked, basically fixing a glitch that would occur with him not scaling properly, as well as not having any item drops. It now takes at least a dozen players to take him down with a proper strategy, and when defeated it drops a material needed for crafting the new epic and legendary gear that can only be obtained by defeating him and nowhere else, making him a not so pointless world boss anymore. The other materials can be acquired from invasion events, which can be found on the platform before the world boss in the desert, as well as the Galian village, and now require a group to take down after they tweak the difficulty and fix some broken issues with them. I tried soloing this event post-update, and it is definitely almost impossible by yourself. The good thing here is that late last night they also tweaked the invasions to occur more often, bringing the time it takes for the events to spawn down to 15 minutes instead of 40, which was way too long. So let's summarize all the most significant changes. There are 2 new materials in the game which can only be obtained from defeating the world boss and invasion events, which have been improved and now require groups to accomplish. There's a brand new dungeon full of objectives, enemies, and bosses that is really awesome and I hope to see more of. Legendary gear has mostly been removed, with an epic gear that has replaced it, but will be returning into the game with better designs and modifiers in the future. 23 new side quests and 4 new NPCs have been added, and there are overall a ton of bug fixes as well as a few quality of life improvements that have been implemented, such as better tutorials, guild management, and godstone upgrades being fixed. an in-game alert system that lets you know when servers are going down for maintenance, and a bunch of other minor improvements, although there are still some that need to be tackled. Overall, I do like the changes that have been made, and while not perfect yet, I think they are moving in the right direction. They're going to be focused on bugs and polish this month, and once they get that squared away, can then focus on implementing new content. And I think this is a solid game plan for the game to keep players invested and having something to look forward to while still getting to enjoy the base game in the meantime. So what did you think of the update, and what would you like to see next? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more Zenith content in the future. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.